Well, good morning, everybody. I'll open the meeting at 9:31 a.m. Acknowledge we're hosting the meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and we acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia and pay respects to elders past and present and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. The panel today is myself, Karen Hyde as presiding member, Mr Clayton Hine as deputy presiding member, Mr Andrew Harris specialist member. We also have our local government members from the City of Bayswater, Mayor Philomena Pifarati and Councillor Josh Gibson, and from the City of Fremantle, Councillor Ingrid Van Wilson and Councillor Andrew Sullivan. And we also have members of the DAP Secretariat in the room and presenters for the two items. The meeting will be run in accordance with the DAP Zoning Orders 2024 under the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's Regulations 2011. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's regs. Members are reminded to announce their name and title prior to speaking, and panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. So item 2, we have no apologies. Item 3, we have no notice of members on leave of absence. And item 4, notes of previous meetings are available on the DAP website. So turning to part B of our agenda and the item before the City of Bayswater and ourselves, declarations of due consideration. Could panel members please provide a show of hands to indicate that they have duly considered all documentation contained in part B of the agenda and any related information? Thank you. We also had that R13 direction response, which was published on the 8th of October to do with the parking plans. So, did members have any disclosures of interest to raise? Yes, Mayor Pifarati.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just disclosing I have an impartial interest, as some of the directors of the applicant are known to me in my capacity as mayor and also residents of the City of Bayswater. So I'll be staying in the room.
That's fine, thank you. Any disclosure from you, Councillor Evson? No, okay. Thank you. Well, in accordance with the section 249 of the DAP Code of Conduct, thank you for your declaration. You're not bound by any previous decisions, and the activities you've undertaken are in line with your position as Mayor of the City. So having considered that, you can continue to participate in the meeting, debate and vote on the matter. Thank you. So we don't have any Form 1 DAP applications before us, but the matter today is a Form 2. And that is for lot 700, number 42 Wellington Road, and lot 11, 1A Vera Street, Morley, for a child daycare centre. Now I've allowed for a presentation from Mr Peter Merger. You're limited to 3 minutes, and so I'll give you a little reminder when we get close to that time. If you're familiar with the process here, then I'll open for panel questions, and then after that we'll refer to local government officers. So we have already received your presentation, so I think if you want to draw our attention in 3 minutes to the key things that you want us to consider, that would be welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, presiding member and panellists. Peter Merger from Mr Town Planning, the applicant for the amended childcare centre application at 42 Wellington Road, Morley. I'd like to start by thanking the City for their support of the application. It's been a relatively smooth process. I had intended to start my presentation by providing the panel with details of the original approval, changes, and why it should be supported, but I'll dive probably into the conditions of approval. There's 3 that I guess that we'd like to contend. The first one is in relation to signage. The City has asked for, and I think that is in relation to condition number 27. In relation to signage, the City has requested that one of the SONUS boundary wall signs facing Wellington Street be removed. If you refer to the south elevation plan, is the sign that's in the middle that has been identified to be removed. We would like to retain that sign and believe that its retention will not cause any undue impact on the amenity of the street if erected. The city in their report admits that there is no requirements for assessing boundary wall signs in its policy, but is of the opinion that 3 boundary wall signs are excessive. We disagree and believe that there is no greater impact to the amenity of the area or streetscape if that sign was to remain. All 3 boundary wall signs were designed to be attached to a solid portion of the street fence. They're not large nor unreasonable. They assist in providing some marketing, some wayfinding from the childcare centre. They are less imposing or visible than some of the existing signs along Wellington Road, particularly as you approach sort of the Wellington intersection where the Galleria is. So we would hope for, I guess, that condition to be amended and for the sign to be allowed to stay free. The second point is in relation to cash in lieu, and that refers to condition number 12. So the city has imposed a contribution of $12,000 for a 4-day shortfall. We've addressed the parking shortfall and cash in lieu in some detail in our planning submission. We believe that in the context of the Morley Activity Centre area, parking ratio applied to a childcare centre is high, particularly when compared to the discretion that the Morley Activity Centre plan applies to other uses. The parking standards in the Morley Activity Centre are reduced by 42% for shops, 50% for medical centres, and up to 60% for restaurants compared to the scheme standards. This development is applied a discount of only 28.5%. You could argue that a medical centre or a shop demands more parking over a consistent period of time when compared to a childcare centre. A childcare centre is perhaps more similar to a restaurant where parking demand occurs at specific peak times. Yet a discount of 60% is applied to restaurants and only 28.5% to childcare centres. The city will argue that the cash in lieu will go towards upgrading infrastructure in the area, but trying to find a nexus between, I guess, how it relates to the impact caused by the shortfall of base this development. I'm not too sure because there is a school across the road and there's no parking allowed on the street. So that would be perhaps one way to spend some of that money, but it's not permitted. So we asked for the cash in lieu to be waived. This application also has less occupants in total than the original approval, which had 84 children. This is 81. So there is already not as many, I guess, children and parents visiting the site. And the final condition of approval is just in relation to the term of approval. And it's just a simple request that the approval period is just updated to align with the decision that's made today. We've seen a few applications come back requesting extensions of time. More recently, we understand that our client will construct this within, or intends to start construction within this substantial commencement period. But if we were to sort of, I guess, we've already about 18 months into the approval period since the original DA was approved, and if we could perhaps look at getting 4 years time that the notice of determination is issued for this application, it would be appreciated. So I'll quickly just, if we can just.
You're actually at your 3 minutes. So.
Am I up on it?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Did you just want to draw attention?
I'll just be perhaps very quick, then I'll speak to the.
Might just be enough.
Okay. So the previous approval, the main differences are 84 for children. We have 81 in the current proposal. More or less, the design will stay the same. So the building layout has been sort of more or less followed with some changes that have been made since this has changed ownership and come to Sonus' operations. Sonus operate about 19 childcare centres. They're experts in terms of, I guess, the functionality and knowing how to design a fit for purpose building. So what's happened with, I guess, the rooms primarily is we've still got 4 activity rooms, but some of those rooms have just been modified due to the number of children that are allocated to each room. That's allowed us to then, under original approval, there was a couple of very large activity rooms. They've just been brought back to size, and some of that space has been reallocated. Probably one of the great things about this development is the public art that's along Wellington Road. You've got a nice native public art feature. You've also got more of an undercover area for the children to play outside. So it's a better overall proposal. I've talked about the key changes. I've talked about the conditions of approval. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. And thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I might ask our two elected members if they've got any questions of the presenter first. Mayor Pivarati, nothing from you. Councillor Evson? No? Okay, I'll refer to panel members. Any questions of the presenter?
Yes, just really a bit of, can't recall, was the cash in lieu proposed?
It was, yeah, it's
Was.
been carried on.
There is a new parking policy that says you can spend it on a number of things, including pedestrian infrastructure, public transport. Why are you of the view that wouldn't be a good possibility for the allocation of these funds?
Let's see if you, I think that we've got, essentially there's enough base, I think, to service this, to be able to service the people that are using this facility. It is slightly, whilst it's in the activity centre area, it's also slightly out of the main sort of centre section of it. So any benefits that might go into, I guess, cash in lieu, tenant contribution will likely be spent maybe elsewhere, but probably don't necessarily relate specifically to the site. So I think it's a good idea if you are taking a cash in lieu contribution that money is spent in the proximity of the childcare centre or the development site. But there's not a whole lot here that really, I mean, $12,000 may not really go that far. But in terms of what you're able to do, I think that in terms of the childcare centre, it's always I mean, that $12,000 can be put towards better playground equipment, or it can be put to use if the developer chooses to do so. So I just think that, and given some of the ratios that I mentioned earlier in terms of discretion that's applied to car parking, it would just seem that 28.5% compared to say 60% for a restaurant or 50% for a medical centre. There's a bit of a difference there in terms of how the city's chosen to apply that. And the 19 base, as I mentioned, I think services this childcare centre appropriately.
Any other questions? You didn't go back for a third DRP, did you, in the end?
We didn't actually go to a DRP meeting for this application.
Right.
It was something that was suggested early on, but we felt that it wasn't necessary. The other application did go through a design review process. So we had a couple of meetings. In this instance, the planners and myself agreed that it wasn't really required. The design was improved more or less, and that process was necessary.
All right, thank you. If there are no other questions, thank you for your presentation. We might see if there are any questions of the officers. I think we've got Helen Smith online from the City of Bayswater. Can't see her at the moment. But are there any questions, Mayor Pivarati or Councillor Evson, that you would like to raise with your officers? No? Okay, thank you. Anything from the panel that you wish to raise with Ms. Smith?
In relation to condition 27, the RR refers to condition 27 as a separate signage application that was submitted, which means that would be assessed at the time that's submitted. But in the RAR, there is an assessment already been done suggesting that 2 signs are satisfactory. I'm just wondering whether or not the city would accede to the request from the applicant when they make their signage application, based on comments made.
So over to you, officers at the City of Bayswater, for a response. You're on mute at the moment.
Good morning, panel members. Sorry, Clayton, would you be able to just repeat your actual request, please?
It seems that the condition 27 is for a separate signage application to be made.
Yep.
Are you preempting the decision of that further application based on the comments in the RAR to say that even if you make an application, we don't need proof to anyway?
So, so what signage is shown on the application now is approved as part of this application. Any further signage which is proposed would be subject to a further signage application. Yeah. So we're saying as part of this application that sign proposed on the southern elevation is excessive.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Helen, could you just explain that again? Because there's some confusion here about kind of what's actually approved. You've got a condition for E, I think it is, that you're looking to delete the back, 4D, that you're looking to delete the boundary fence sign, but then calling for signage to be part of a separate application. So there's just needing to be some clarity, I think.
On page, amended amended condition 10, we're actually asking that condition 27 be deleted.
Okay, so not requiring any further application for any of the.
That's right.
Okay, so the sign that the applicant has referred to, which is the one that you regard to be additional, is the one that's referred to in amended condition 4 at item D, and that's what you're saying you feel is excessive and wish to have that deleted.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The applicant has also asked if the period for substantial commencement could take effect from the day of the decision, assuming that it's found in favour today, for 4 years. Do you have any objection to that? Because I think their original approval was April 23.
No, we don't have any objection.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, we might proceed with the.
Are we able to just clarify? So the south elevation, those 3 boundary wall signs are fine. Is that okay? All the 3 signs shown on the south elevation, so they're acceptable. Is that?
So the
street.
So that's the one that's is the 3rd sign on the south elevation, the far right.
no, it's in the centre.
That's right. That's how we saw it. If I might, if I may ask, the client has a request. If one of the signs, and I think I've read my speech, didn't get to it, unfortunately, if there is one sign that needs to be removed, the client would prefer, excuse me, that sign remains, and that it is the sign that is on the far left-hand side of the south elevation, so it's on the northern lot boundary, that wall sign is the one that is removed, and the other one retained.
So that is the left-hand side, the south elevation on the northern side. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so I refer to the south elevation because it's much easier.
Let me, sorry, not just now. Sorry, no, thank you. Helen, did you hear that? Do you have?
Yeah, we did hear it. Look, I suppose our approach to the visual amenity was that those 3 signs from the right to the left, I suppose that they looked quite busy, and that to get a spread out of the signage would be to remove that middle one. It would be our preference that middle one be removed.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it at that, and we can consider that. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll move ahead with the agenda and consider item 4.1, which is a Form 2 recommended that we accept it as a Form 2, there being minor amendment to previous application, and approve subject to amended conditions. So first of all, I'd like to seek a mover and a seconder for that, please. Do I have a mover? I'll move it. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Clayton. Okay, I'll just very briefly speak to it. It's quite a straightforward matter, I think. The application has already been granted. It's already been considered as appropriate in this location. There has been some minor modification due to a change of ownership, and it has been thoroughly assessed in the applicants, in the officer's report. There's been considerable change, which has been highlighted in the RAR. A number of previous conditions are suggested for deletion, and it's really a refinement of what was previously approved. So I'm very comfortable with supporting this application. Clayton, a seconder?
Yes, I'm more than happy to support the application, although in relation to the signage, I don't really see an amenity issue with the 3 signs as proposed. And so I would propose that 3D be deleted and that the approval for the 3 signs would be made. Oh, yes, sorry.
Yes. So Clayton was a seconder. In order to do that, would I need to?
Separate motion.
Yes,
Separately?
should we do a
Yes.
separate
Yeah,
amending
that's
motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any objection to the primary motion, I should just ask? We'll move ahead with amending motions then. So, Mr. Harman wanted to make an amending motion.
Yes, to delete amending condition 4D.
Okay. Is there a seconder, please, for that? Thank you. Mr. Howe seconds that. Would you like to speak to that?
Well, I don't think I need to say much more other than because of the odd shape of the site, I think those signs don't present any amenity issues for the surrounding locality, and it's on fairly busy road anyway. So I don't see an issue having all 3 signs for you.
Okay. Did you want to say anything to it?
I agree with it.
Okay. Anybody want to speak against that? Shall we take the vote on that amending motion only then? That is to remove item D of condition 4. Those in favour of the amending motion? That's a unanimous matter. Thank you. I would like to propose an amending motion. I think it's an amending motion, and that is just to make sure that the notice of approval commences from the day of the decision, which I'm assuming would be today, and that continues for a 4-year period. So, do I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pafferati. Just making some notes here. Only reason I think that that's appropriate is that there has been a change of ownership and a few design upgrades, and it's still obviously very much a needed facility. So I think to give them a fair shot at getting construction going would be appropriate. Did you wish to say anything, Mayor Pafferati?
Other than I also support the extension. However, I would hope that construction could start as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour of that amending motion, please? That's unanimous, thank you. Any other amending motions that anybody would like to put? All good? Okay, let's vote on the primary motion then with those 2 amendments. Those in favour? That's unanimous as well, thank you very much. So that draws that item to a close, and we thank the elected members and officers from the City of Bayswater for their attendance today.
Thank you.
And as applicants, thank you for attending, for your colleague to go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Take your along. Okay, so we now welcome our elected members from the City of Fremantle. We have Councillor Ingrid Van Dawson in the room with us. minutes. And I think we have Councillor Andrew Sullivan online. Good morning. So I might just go back and reiterate, could all the panel members please acknowledge that they've given due consideration to all materials today? Yes, thank you very much. Then we do know that no, we didn't. We just, that's right. So, were there any disclosures of interest? Were there any impartiality interest? Thank you, Councillor.
I'd like to make an impartiality interest declaration today, and apologies, I was a bit late putting my phone through. I have emailed that through now, but we did consider this matter at previous council meetings.
Thank you. Was that the same for you, Councillor Sullivan? Yes?
Yes, it's the same declaration of impartiality.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think as previously stated in the item before, in accordance with section 249 of the MIDAP code, thank you for that declaration of impartiality for both of you. And having considered that, recognise that it is part of your duty as elected members for the city, and that you acknowledge that you're not bound by any previous decisions or resolutions of local government, and you'll be exercising your independent judgment today on this particular matter. So you're more than welcome to remain in the meeting to discuss, debate and vote on the matter. Thank you. So we have one presentation today for the item for 25, 72, 73 and 100 on Clontarf Road and lot 73 on Naylor Street for multiple dwellings. We have Mr. Lachlan McCaffrey from Stockland, who's asked to make a presentation. It's usually 3 minutes. We'll try and stick to that, although you are the last item. But we have received your presentation, which was just a letter at that point. Great. So I'm happy for you to start when you're ready.
Yeah, great. Good morning, members, Councillor Van Dawson and O'Sullivan. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to present today, and probably more importantly, questions after, if there is any. On behalf of Stockland, CLE Planning and Design and Plus Architecture, we speak in favour of the officer's recommendation to approve the development application, subject to conditions. In addition, we wish to thank the City, Council members and the City's Design Review Panel regarding a positive recommendation and assessment process, which we note was unanimously supported at the City of Fremantle Ordinary Council meeting on the 11th of September. The application proposes 72 dwellings within the 4.8 hectare medium density precinct and consists of 48 3-bedroom homes and 24 single-storey apartments located vertically above the garages. The single-bedroom apartments comprise 11.5% of the total dwellings within the broader precinct. The dwellings will be constructed in groups of 3 straight units and will deliver on housing diversity commitments made through the subdivision, as well as the local development plan, which the City has recently been involved in. The homes are designed and strategically located to laneways, provide alternate and highly attractive housing models, and facilitate community diversity, particularly young couples, downsizers and singles. The single bed product is delivered, or is believed to deliver a housing typology which future-proofs the built form for occupants and the future users within the broader Beaconsfield locality. We thank the City for its input, and Stockland look forward to delivering this housing typology in the first stage of construction, which is proposed in January 2025. Joined today by both members from Plus and CLE, and we're happy to take any questions regarding the proposal.
Beautiful, thank you, and thank you for sticking within your 3 minutes. I might just check if the elected members have any questions of you. First of all, nothing from Councillor Sullivan?
Just a
Thank you.
question, just to clarify, but no concerns about the officer's proposed conditions of approval for?
No.
Thank you. Okay. Panel members, any questions of the applicant? I just have one question. Your timing for the remainder of the development and how that will be staged, and particularly when we look at a lot of the drawings and the artist's impression, there's quite a lot of emphasis on public realm investment in the public realm and the landscape. I'm just wondering how that will work with this first stage of development.
Yeah, sure. So the first stage of development proposed to start early 25 will consist of 55 dwellings broadly across 2 stages of the precinct. I suppose it is a commitment to the broader community and Stockland's customers. We intend to bring a lot of amenity up front. So, you know, predominantly Nafla Street and a portion of Stream Street will be landscaped and upgraded. And a portion of the central POS, the western portion, will be delivered up front.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And were they sort of conditions of subdivision, or was that?
No real conditions.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions of the applicant? We'll see if there are any questions of the local government. I think is it Chloe Johnson? Yes, thank you. Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Van Dawson, any questions of your officers? Okay, anything from the panel member to the city?
I'm just curious about condition 14 regarding the solar panels. What's the background to that in a policy setting?
Thank you, panel member. It's really based on the code, so it's the applicant's response to the energy efficiency requirements in the apartment codes. So given they're committing, we'll hold them to it and ensure they're installed.
Okay, thank you. I've just got one question. I know that the subdivision and I think the LDP went through the design review panel. This application per se did not though, is that right?
No, not specifically. The applicant has included these dwellings as part of that discussion the whole way through though. So the scale of this development sort of in isolation, given they're 2 stories, wouldn't typically go through design review on its own. But the DAP panel did have the DAC panel, sorry, did have the benefit of seeing the proposal as it was intended through that process.
Okay, lovely. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Are we good to proceed? Okay, so we have then item 3.1 and you can set there because item 3.1 for this multiple dwelling application, we are recommended to accept it as a multiple dwelling compatible with the scheme and to approve subject to a number of conditions. So I'd like to seek a mover for that, please, in the first instance. Councillor Van Dawson, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Okay, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. Listen, I'm really happy to support this proposal. As mentioned, I had a look at this through council, so I've had a chance to have a good look and review all the detail. But yeah, I'm really impressed with the sort of unique design and hoping I love the little smaller apartments that should contribute to activating the laneway. So I really appreciate that. Hopefully, could deliver on that diversity and some affordability, just having some smaller units, you know, amongst everything. Yeah, and I'm happy with everything. I thank you, officers, for the planning report. I think it's been assessed in detail, and I don't have any concerns or about it. I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sullivan is seconded. Did you wish to comment?
Yes, thank you. I mean, this is one of these applications where essentially the final stage of approving the buildings has been made, in my opinion, much easier because of the work that was put in during the subdivision and LDP stages between the city, the council and the developers. Obviously, the council was looking for a high degree of diversity in the type of housing that could be put on this site. And also, as was mentioned by yourself, Presiding Member, a high quality of landscaping and public realm. So all of those conversations were very successfully had during the LDP subdivision stage, and I'd like to thank Stockland and the others for making quite significant changes to the way they laid the land out. And also to the diversity of the product that they're putting in. And I guess it's that diversity that's bringing this application to the DAP, because it's multiple dwellings, because of the nature of the Fonzie flats and the like. and they're all positives from the council's perspective. So we're very happy with the diversity that's been put forward, and I think it's it will provide a great community that has that diversity. So I don't see any issues there. I mean, the only thing that's been commented on is the uniformity, I guess, of the all of the housing. But I think as time goes on, there'll be more diversity in that anyway, as people move in and as people buying perhaps select slightly different palettes and the like. So very much support this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak?
Yes, I couldn't help but reflect on this one compared to another one in Fremantle that we dealt with some time ago, and how much better resolved this one is in terms of the landscaping and the layout and the way it addresses the streets and the lanes. So I'm very supportive of it.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, I'm quite comfortable with it. I do think it was beneficial to have gone through the fairly holistic process and through the LDP. I think there have been some significant benefits from doing that. As Councillor Sullivan suggests, there is a level of uniformity and sameness about the pattern of the development, the rhythm of it, but hopefully with the landscape and with some other sort of materiality as people go through their choices as future occupants, that will soften and work to have a little bit more diversity. But I think that the product itself is excellent, and I think you've got different scales of development for singles, for families, downsizes, etc. So there should be a good sense of community here. So happy to support. With that, did you wish to close?
No, I'm happy.
Okay, let's take a vote then. Those in favour of the motion? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. So with that, we just have a few little closing bits and bobs. As part D, there are a few SAT applications and so on to note. There's nothing listed as general business, and so I would declare the meeting closed at 10:08. And thank everybody for their attendance, and thank the City of Fremantle officers and local government for joining us virtually and in person this morning, and thank the applicant. All done.
Thank you.
Thank you.